Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Got a collection of 380 Glocks sitting here on the table. Please don't forget to check out our website. Go to our affiliates page. You'll find discount codes for things like Mantis Axe and Core belts. Link to that cool little bore light that we use for lighting up the barrels. Use those links. It will often save you money, never will cost you any additional money, and helps the channel. And please consider supporting the channel on Player, formerly Utreon, where we can do some types of videos that are no longer allowed on YouTube. And the thing that is kind of interesting about this is Glock's been in the 380 business for quite a long time. You've got the 28 here, which is the baby Glock chambered in 380. And you've got the Glock 19 size, or the compact Glock, the 25 chambered in 380. But up until a year or so ago, those were not available in the United States. The first Glock 380 that was actually available in the United States is the 42. And the 42 is the smallest and the lightest Glock made. It only weighs 13.76 ounces. It's 5.94 front to back. And with this flush mag, it's 4.13 tall. Now, interestingly, it's a single stack and only holds 6 rounds, so you do lose quite a bit of capacity, but it's only 0.04 shorter than the baby Glock, the 28 over here. So it's not significantly shorter, but overall it is thin, it is light, it's only 0.98 inches thick. So this has been a very popular deep conceal gun. It's a perfect ankle gun, pocket gun, anything where you really, if you dress clothes where you don't have a whole lot of places to put something that it's not going to print all over the place, this has become very popular. But if you wanted a Glock, if you like Glocks and you wanted 380, this was it. And 6 rounds is kind of weak compared to some of the competition. And some of the others out there are actually quite a bit smaller than this. This may be the smallest Glock, but it's by far not the smallest 380 out there. The trigger on this one is one of the later revisions. So the trigger's decent, but it's kind of stiffer than any of the other Glocks. In the early generation of the 42, the trigger came in around 8 pounds. Glock did fix that, and there's a lot of third-party companies that also fix it. And the slide is reasonable. It's not super light, but it is reasonable. Some of these little micro compacts can be hard to cycle. So overall, as 380s go, this is a pretty good 380. So I'm going to also show you the reset. Got a decent reset. You know, it's kind of the standard Glock reset. You're right on the wall, and then again a pull through the wall. So overall, this gun has worked well. This has always been my travel gun, because if I'm in dress clothes, I can conceal this. It doesn't really matter what I'm wearing or where I'm going, I can conceal this, and it worked perfect for that. Now, enter the Glock 28. This is the baby Glock chambered in 380. Has 10 rounds, just like the 26, the 9mm equivalent of it. This is a Gen 3. And the reason I've got this now and couldn't have one before is when these were made offshore, overseas, you couldn't import them. The ATF point system prohibited it. And it's the same with the 25 sitting over here. Same story. So Glock started manufacturing them in the United States, and now you can have them. The key to it is they're Gen 3s. And unless they become super popular, I don't imagine they'll go beyond Gen 3. So you don't get the replaceable back straps. Don't have it on this either. And you do have the finger grooves. And there's no MOS version available, and I don't expect there to be. Same with the 42. I'd really kind of be surprised if an MOS comes out, even though there are red dots that are small enough to fit. And the 25 over here is the same thing, no MOS version. But what you do get with this is, even though it's only a 2-finger grip, just like the 26, it's far less recoil, noticeably less recoil. This absorbs recoil amazingly well. So if you're wanting a little pocket gun like this, which you want to get up away from just 6 rounds and something super thin, but you've got hand sensitivity issues, this kind of gives you a good choice. It's a good compromise. Has the same sights. All 3 of these have the same U-dot sights. And all 3 of them, the sights are interchangeable. Now, I will say the 25 and 28 take the standard Glock sights, so any Glock sights will fit it. The 42 does use a smaller set of sights, so you have to get sights that are specific to the 42, but they're still, Glock design sights, and there are quite a few of them on the market now. But overall, from a sight perspective, they're all very similar. One thing that's kind of interesting is The 42 is lock breech, just like most Glocks. These two are blowback, always have been. And when they brought them over to the United States, they left them blowback. They basically took the exact manufacturing design they had overseas, brought it over to the United States, and started making them here. So these are virtually identical to anything you would find overseas in Europe or wherever. Just that the stamping will say that it's made in the United States instead of being made in Belgium. I said Belgium, I meant Austria. So these are made, most Glocks that are made overseas are made in Austria. And then they're shipped over here. But they're making more and more of them here in the United States. These they had to, if they wanted to bring them over. They've got serrations on the rear. The 42 is the same. Some of the newer Glock models you see have got serrations up on front. They don't, to the 28, which is similar to the 26, does not use a Picatinny rail, but the same Glock accessories, the trigger guard accessories that fit on the 26 will fit on this. So you're not going to have any limitations that you wouldn't have with the 26 that's already been around forever. And then if you move up a step, so kind of talking about the baby Glock subcompact pocket gun, move up a step to a 3-finger grip. Now I've got a 3-finger grip, and this is virtually identical to a Glock 19 with the exception it's of course chambered in 380. Has a single slot Picatinny rail, no replaceable back straps on any of these, and it comes with a 15-round magazine. Now the magazines for the 380 are different. You probably, if you've seen Glock mags, you're picking this up right away. It's the same external dimensions, but it's got this recess in it because the 380 cartridge is shorter. So you cannot use 9mm magazines in these guns. They have to use the 380 magazines. However, just like the 26, the baby Glock, you can easily use the larger 19 mag, and it'll work. It'll hang down just like that would on the 9mm version. If there was a Glock 17 size 380, its magazine would work in this as well, but as of the making of this video, there isn't one, and I'm not aware of Glock making any extended mags for it, as well as the aftermarket. But should an extended mag be made, if they ever made a Glock 17 size version of the 380, the mags would be interchangeable just like they are, and it would hang down. It kind of looks something like that, and it would work. But at the moment, 15 is as good as you're going to get in either of these. It comes with 2 magazines. All of these come with 2 magazines. Some of the newer Gen 4s and Gen 5s and the regular Glock models come with 3 magazines. Overall, now let me show you the trigger on this. The trigger on the 25 and the 28 are about the same. A little bit of take-up, so about the same. But it's a shorter, lighter, crisp break. There's the reset, you're right on the wall, and then again that short, light, crisp break. So the triggers on the 25 and the 28 are nicer than the trigger on the 42, right from the factory trigger, but all of these triggers can be improved with aftermarket parts just the same as the regular 9mm versions. So one of the questions might come up, well, why would I want any of these? Why would I want the 380 at all? Well, the 42, I kind of talked about this one, the purpose of this is kind of stands out. It's a super deep conceal, especially if you like Glocks and want that trigger consistency for the most part throughout the line, you would go with this. Where you would look at these is, of course, if you're a collector, you're going to buy one to complete your collection. That's kind of a given. But let's, collectors aside, why would you look at these and not buy a 26 or a 19? And why would I pick, which ones of these would I pick? Well, I would pick the 42 from this line if I really needed that deep conceal. If I need the smallest, thinnest, lightest Glock made, this one kind of stands out. So then it kind of moves between the two of these. Why would I buy the 380? I would do with 380 and the larger guns if I had recoil management problems, if I had hand strength issues and things like that, where the 26 was too much of a handful for me, or the 19 was kind of on the edge. You could take somebody like that and they could get into these, have the standard size Glocks with the little bit better capacity, the 15 rounds or the 10 rounds as opposed to the 6 that comes in the single stack 42, and really be able to control them. Even this little guy, even with just a 2-finger grip, if I put the magazine in it doesn't really change much, but even with just a 2-finger grip, this is very, very manageable on the range, very easy to handle. And the slide is not super light because it is blowback, but you can see I'm easily doing it with 2 hands. So if you had compromised hand strength and grabbed it with your whole hand, you could easily cycle this. Now the 42 has the kind of about the same. It's about the same weight. It's not that much lighter, but it is thinner. I'm having to give it more of a squeeze to get a hold of it. So surprisingly, The slide is easier to rack on the 28 and the 25 because there's more meat to get a hold of, and it does actually feel like these two are a little bit lighter. 42 is not ridiculously heavy, but I'm having to give it a good squeeze to hold on to it. In fact, that time it got away from me. The serrations aren't quite as deep, and it's thinner, so there's a little less to grab onto. So you're going to find something like this is really easily concealed, but it's very, very controllable. If you've got a little bit more room in your concealed carry setup, now you've got a full 3-finger grip in a gun that recoils like a 22. I shot these side by side. I shot the 25, the 28, and a 19 and a 26 side by side, and there was a marked difference between the two of them. It wasn't just a little different, it was a lot different. This has almost no recoil. So it's very easy to shoot, very easy to control, and it's a center fire caliber. 380 is kind of the lowest caliber I would consider competent these days. I'm not a fan of 22 LR for concealed carry just because of the reliability of the ammo. You can get the recoil that you would get in a 22 in something like this in a regular center fire cartridge. So it's kind of come down to, beyond the collector filling out their collection, the two that were probably stand out the most for me would be the 42 for deep conceal, and then the 25 for just general conceal. But I wouldn't forget this little baby Glock, because this gun gives you that smaller grip, easier to hide, easier to carry, and hair lighter than the 25, but still gives you good recoil management because of the blowback operation and the 380 cartridge itself. As far as cost goes, from an MSRP perspective, and even what I'm seeing them available for, the three that I've got in my hand are the least expensive centerfire Glocks out there. The 42's got an MSRP of $499, but I routinely see them around $400. So this is really the least expensive centerfire Glock out there. Their 22 may be less expensive, but I wouldn't consider that for concealed carry. The 28, the 25 really come in around the same price. They have an MSRP of $599, but I'm seeing them around the $500 realm. So these are a little less expensive. Well, this is a lot less expensive than the common Glocks that are out there, the 26 and the 19. And I think it's because they're Gen 3, the investment in tooling and design for these, it's very old, very long paid for, so they can sell them at a reduced price. When they first came out, they were kind of higher priced because they were first available, and of course the collectors would stamp them up at any price, but now they've kind of normalized. So kind of comes back around. If you've got normal hand strength and you don't have any issues with recoil management, you're probably not looking at these two. You might look at this just because of that super small. This has got a kind of a niche of being the smallest Glock available. You're probably not looking at the two of these, but if the 26 and the 19 have been just kind of on the edge of what you could comfortably handle and reliably control, this brings you into a really good gun that you very, very likely can control. Ammo's a little more expensive, the gun's a little less expensive, but overall they would work well. Oh, and of course, again, the collectors. But beyond that, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click that bell up there to be notified if you do. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Player, Rumble, we're pretty much everywhere. And thank you.